All right. So today we're going to be talking, we're having a video where we're going to talk about the cost of living crisis here in America. And I'm definitely going to have my 2 cents to say about it because when times were good, no one was complaining about cost of living. The thing is, it was still happening. You just didn't see it up front. But now that is starting to hit the upper echelon, the businesses, and now layoffs are happening. Now you're starting to hear people talk about how, cost of living's higher because now their wages aren't going up. And this is for Pacific Industries as well. But we're going to go talk about some of these TikTok videos to show how some people are dealing with it, and I'm going to have my little something to say after the fact.
It came out telling us how much we need to make to live comfortably depending on which state we live in. And being able to live comfortably means 50% of our earnings goes towards necessities, 30% goes towards our wants, and 20% goes to savings and investments. Apparently, the most expensive state is Massachusetts at $116,000 per year, which is around $56 an hour. However, the average salary in Massachusetts is around $66,000 a year or $32 an hour. Hawaii is up next at around $113,000 a year, which is around $55 an hour. The average salary in Hawaii is around $53,000 a year or $25 an hour. Following closely behind that, California is at third at $113,000 a year. And in California, the average salary is around $62,000 a year or $30 an hour, so you're at least only $50,000 short of living comfortably. The fourth highest state is New York at $111,000 per year or $54 an hour. Surprisingly, in New York, the average salary is around $52,000 a year or $25 an hour. And in fifth, we have Washington at $106,000 a year or $51 an hour. And as you might expect, the average salary in Washington is lower, being at $58,000 a year or $28 an hour.
All right. So what I want to say about that is the fact that depending on which state you live in will completely change what cost of living looks for you. And at least in my opinion, over the past 6 years, all I hear is how expensive it is to live in the most expensive states and cities in the world. Ain't just in the country, in the world, as in the Californias, the New Yorks, the Bostons, Chicago. Like, these places are very expensive, not only because of the way our monetary system works, but also because of supply and demand. More people want to live there. Now, I'm not saying that's always the best thing. Yes, you need to move to New York for certain job opportunities because that's where all the businesses are. But when people are having a cost of living crisis, and they really need to learn to evaluate what they need and what they want. The difference is that so many people, and we're going to have some videos talking about this, mix up what they need and what they want. And a great example is what we have next. This here is an article about how U.S. consumers are so financially strained that they put over $1 billion in buy now, pay later services like Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm. Like, we're going to see more videos later, but the fact that you can be broke, but you feel that you have the leeway to essentially go out and keep shopping for things you most likely don't even need, and then complain how expensive cost of living is. Look, we all struggling, but the difference is that there are some times that you need to make sacrifices. And one of the worst things I believe about America right now is our generation refuses to sacrifice. And this including the baby boomers as well. In my opinion, they sold us out when it comes to what happened in the 70s and how this entire country sold us out by offshoring all our jobs. And I'm not saying that it's all our fault, but it is our responsibility to get ourselves out of the situation we're in. So if it takes you moving to a lost cost of living area like West Virginia, which is actually one of the reasons why Connecticut, West Virginia, and Pittsburgh are one of the best real estate markets because it's still affordable to live there. But as I have mentioned to some people, I don't want to live there because it's too cold. I don't want to live there because the jobs aren't there. Then you lose the right to complain when there are opportunities. You just don't want them. And that's the difference. And we're going to see this in some videos as we talk about.
The cost of living in this country is currently, it's not going to be, it is currently unsustainable. And there are people that they know this, but then they'll still look at somebody else that's struggling and then tell them they're not doing good enough. I want you to imagine somebody that makes $75,000 a year. That's a pretty high up wage in terms of like top earners in this country, $75,000 a year. And we're going to go through some things here. This is a person with no debt outside of a car. And please don't hit me with the, you can go buy a car for, shut up, you can't, shut up, stop saying ridiculous things. An entry-level decent car is $30,000. So this person who puts $200 a month into insurance and they pay 5% into their 401k because shut up, people should be able to put money into their retirement. Because if you're not doing it now, you're never going to get to start doing it later. So after those two things come out of their paycheck and their taxes are paid, they bring home $53,850 a year from a $75,000 paycheck. Average rent in my state for a one-bedroom apartment, because an adult should be able to live by themselves, $1,700. That car payment at 6% for an entry-level, very reasonable sedan, nothing fancy, the car payment's $579 a month. Car insurance, $240 or so a month for a lot of vehicles in this day and age. You're a young person, you've got a nice job, but the insurance companies still want to screw you over. Food. You only cook at home. You never, ever go out. You only cook at home and you only eat decent quality food because a human being should be allowed to eat decent quality food. You pay $879 a month for that. You spend $250 a month in gas. You wear and tear on your car $100 a month. $80 for your phone, $80 for your internet, $175 a month for your electricity, $70 for your water, $20 for your cash. You make $75,000 a year, and outside of a car payment, you have zero debt. Do you know how much money you have left over annually at a $75,000 wage? You do nothing. You don't own a Netflix. You don't go out on a date. You don't pay to go to a park. You don't go watch a movie. You do nothing. If you can't find it on the internet for free, you don't get to do it. If you can't cook it at home for your $800, you don't get to do it. You have $3,700 left over annually. That's $320 a month. And there's going to be, those $300, shut up. Shut your stupid, contrarian, edgelord mouth. That's not a doctor bill, because God knows just because we have insurance doesn't mean that we don't still pay far out the ass when we go to the doctors. People like to be entertained. They want to date. They want to... There's those of you out there that will tell somebody living like this on $75,000 a year before taxes that they are not doing what they're supposed to do, that they should get a second job, that they should get a side hustle, that they should get a better job. And the fact that you would look at somebody with no debt other than a car and say something like this to them means objectively you're a moron and you live in a fantasy world.
See, I love guys like this because I've been watching guys like this for the past 6-7 years. See, everything he said, I can counteract because I'm living this right now. See, he thinks, oh, I can buy a car for $30,000. $30,000 to him is an entry-level vehicle. See, what he doesn't understand is that he believes that he shouldn't have to buy a car that's older than 3 years old. So in his mind, $30,000, like, that's what I deserve. That's what I'm owed because my parents in the past is what they did. No, I drive a 2010 Mercury Milan. That's what I drive. And you know how much I'm paying for it? How much I paid for it in 2016? $10,000. You know what my car payment is? $0. Insurance, $65 a month. See, it's never about what how expensive things are. No, the difference is, and I said this in my course, is that everything depends on what you value when it comes to wants and needs, because it's different for everyone. In this guy's mind, he believed that he needs a $30,000 car. No, You don't. And what's even more sad is that the car companies have figured that out, which is why all these new cars are disposable vehicles that don't last more than 5 years, because they know, no offense, people like this guy will keep buying the new car every single time, when my car has 160,000 miles and still running great for me. They have us so clued in this consumerism mindset that we believe that we need to continue spending this way for us to have a quote unquote comfortable living. Like food, $800 for a single guy, I'm paying personally $400 a month. And that's with me working out, eating, protein shakes, etc. I'm spending about $400 a month. So it's not like it can't be done. Just in general, in my opinion, Americans just don't want it to be done because they're so used to excess. It was a joke, a running joke for America for so long that we love excess. We like bigger, better, everything. You can't do that anymore. You can't do it anymore. We have now sucked up everything that we could have had. We sucked up all the good stuff, all the short-term fun and the party life. Like, think of it like we're at a nightclub, we're partying. Now's the hangover. Now you looked at your bank account, because I was in college, I know how this is. You look at your bank account after a night out, and all of a sudden, you have $0 in that bank account. But you have fun. In my opinion, you don't have a right to complain. He's saying a one bedroom is $1,600, then move somewhere else. It's expensive to move. It's even more expensive to stay. And as I just mentioned in the last example, but we're so quick to buy Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals, but you can't save the money to move out of a state that's too expensive. I just moved out of a storage unit because they were overcharging me. And was it more expensive to move it out? Yes, but over the long run, I'm saving money. And these are the sacrifices that, in my opinion, are required to be successful. You can't just have it on easy mode. And in my opinion, America has had it on easy mode since the end of World War II. We've all had it on the easy mode. Granted, the boomers were able to take up most of that value. I will say that. Yeah, the boomers really had it great. There are some things when it comes to the stock market they knew well, but the cost of living, the power of the dollar, the purchasing power, the manufacturing base, they had it good. Which is why all those comparisons of back in 1970s are the way they are. But now there are more opportunities than ever. There really are, but it's harder to see. It's harder to understand. And the only way to see it is to have the humility to understand that your way doesn't work anymore. So we're going to talk about this other video about this. And we're going to see what this guy is saying about how hard it is to exist. But in my opinion, I can go to Lebanon and show you how really hard it is to exist, rather you being in a prosperous country like America within reason. I'm not saying that it hasn't fallen off, because it has. But don't get it twisted. We're still better than most countries. And anyone who says anything different, you're essentially telling me that you've never been outside America, which once again tells me just how privileged you are. So let's see what this video is about.
It feels like a punishment. You wake up already behind, you go to work just to stay broke, and you watch the cost of everything rise while your paycheck doesn't move an inch. Groceries are a luxury, rent is robbery, healthcare is a joke, and somehow we're the ones blamed for not budgeting better. People are working 2-3 jobs and still choosing between food or gas. Families are crammed into apartments because buying a house became a fantasy. You can't afford to get sick, you can't afford to rest, you can't afford to exist. But they keep telling us the economy is strong. Strong for who? Because it sure as hell isn't the people doing the work. We're out here treading water while billionaires build rockets, politicians trade stocks, and corporations raise prices just because they can. We were promised opportunity, we got survival. And what makes this worse is watching people blame themselves. Like somehow you failed because you can't afford a one-bedroom anymore. Like you didn't do enough, when the truth is the math just stopped adding up years ago. They told us to work harder, but never told us they'd change the finish line. This isn't a country full of lazy people. It's a country full of exhausted ones.
Now, I actually feel for this guy for what he said. And there are a lot of things he said that are true. But the one thing he did say was, they promised us that we'll be good. That's the problem. You can't trust what anyone else has to say. You have to have the brain power to be able to look at the world objectively and come up with your own mind decision and how you're going to view the world. They are in the business of taking advantage of you. That's how all politicians are. Most people are so misunderstood about how politics works. The one thing that this country has over most other countries is that the founding fathers made it to where the politicians must, not it must go by the people. So it's a responsibility of us to keep them accountable. But we have gotten too comfortable. And I'm saying this as an entire country. We've gotten way too comfortable, way too lackadaisical, that now that they can essentially manipulate you and say, hey, we'll give you $2,000 stimulus check. Hey, take this stimulus check. And just for the record, back then in 2020, I was against the stimulus check because this was the inevitable consequence. Inflation doesn't mean the cost of prices over time. People misunderstand this. Inflation is truly the expansion of the money supply. And when the money supply expands and the goods and services stay the same, what's the consequence of that? Prices go up because there's more dollars. So anytime that because this is what people don't get. Everyone wanted to vote for that stimmy check. They all loved it. They all bought cars. They all bought all this stuff that you probably shouldn't have been buying. At the minimum, you should have been paying debt with it. But most people didn't even do that, which is actually what I did with mine. But because you decided to do that, 3-4 years later, when all that money starts going around the system, now prices are higher. And yes, the corporations have you by the balls because they know you can't stop spending. And since you can't stop spending, they raise prices. And then you make an excuse of, I gotta spend this. Yes, sometimes that's true. Electricity, yeah, you gotta spend it. That's actually one of the good things about solar panels. And actually one of the things I like to do in my real estate. It might be too expensive, but at least I won't be beholden to those corporations because I have my own electric power. You find a way to create your own living, your own world, your own economy in its own way by becoming more self-efficient so you're not reliant on these corporations. This is why community-ran businesses are so important. But as I said, we've gotten so used to convenience, DoorDash, be able to order Amazon, all these conveniences that essentially we can't stop. And this is the problem. And this guy, I feel for him because yeah, it is getting hard to exist because we as a people have gotten too comfortable. We've been lulled to sleep and they've been ransacking all our wealth and prosperity under our noses. Nancy Pelosi, one of the most successful investors in the world, better than Warren Buffett, because she was manipulating behind the scenes so she can essentially do legal insider trading. That's essentially what the Green New Deal was about. So we being so comfortable is what got us here. And the only way we're going to get out is to take responsibility and say, I'm getting myself out. And right now, that's what I'm doing in my life. I've been working 2 jobs for 3 years. And I'm about 1 year away from not being in that situation anymore. But if it takes 5 years of sacrifice for the rest of your life to be taken care of, then you have to be willing to make the sacrifice. And unfortunately, most people aren't. So let's talk about this next video.
I have to work 40 hours a week just so I can have a place to live. 40 hours a week makes me $2,000 a month, and my rent is $1,660. So I work 40 hours a week so I can have a 2-bedroom apartment and an extra $300 a month. Like, doesn't cover my phone, internet, food. So not only do I not have any extra money, but just working makes me so exhausted that I don't have time either. Like, I get off work at 5:30, come home, I'm just so tired. Anything that I need to do outside of work, I then just push off till the weekend, and I'm like, I'm just too tired to do this after work. I'll wait until Saturday. So then I end up with so much to do on the weekend that ends up having to be split into 2 days. So I have to do stuff on both Saturday and Sunday. So then I don't get a day off. I don't get a day to relax. I don't get to decompress. So it is really like working 7 days a week.
Yeah, listen, I feel you, because that's exactly what I'm doing. I work 6 days a week. Some days I'm working 2 jobs a day. I'm in school. I'm trying to do this. Yeah. You gotta work 40 hours. You have to work. Working and sacrificing for something is what gives life its meaning. You find what you're passionate about through struggle. Struggle isn't something you run away from. That's something that you have to hit head on, because then when you get past it on the other side, not only have you learned the lessons needed, but you've become much more well-rounded and more thankful for getting to the point where you are. Why do you think America got to where it was? We've been through almost 4 wars. Vietnam, World War I, World War II, God, the Mexican War. Like, we've been in so many wars. After World War II, the people who birthed the boomers said, we aren't going to war no more. We know how bad it is. We know how much lives it destroys. We're going to pamper the mess out of our kids, which unfortunately really hurt us, because then that's what got them, that's when the entitlement side started coming in. Not saying it was all for bad. Stuff like union work and stuff like that, there have been some great things that came from it, but it changed the mindset to where now in the future they start sacrificing the short term, sacrificing the long term for the short term. And this is essentially what we have to pay for, because we got too comfortable. The same reason why they say in 3 generations all wealth is lost, because that 3rd generation don't understand the struggle and hard work that is required to handle wealth like that. So I feel you. Listen, I'm living it right now, so I already know what it's like. But if you have a North Star you can focus on, you can get yourself through it. But you need to find it, and you need to find meaning in your suffering. And there normally always is. But a lot of people that I've come to learn ever since I've come back to the United States is they don't want that. They want it easy. They want the easy road the entire life. Their entire life, they want the easy road. And now reality is smacking you in the mouth. And now everyone's in the same boat. Everyone can't afford their car, so now repos are going up. Everyone who bought a house in 2020, 2023 now can't afford their mortgage anymore, because the reality of inflation was coming. This is why I didn't buy a house. And my rent, just to be transparent, is $800 a month, and that's utilities included. There are situations like this, but if you can't see it or you don't want to see it, then that's unfortunate. So let's see another video we got. Oh, this guy. I've been hearing a few things about this guy.
In America, the rent is too damn high. So new studies on affordability here in the United States have declared 98% of all counties in the United States unaffordable for rent, meaning that in 98% of counties throughout the United States, people cannot afford rent properly, meaning
See, I'm gonna let him finish.
their job does not pay enough to cover rent, food, and utilities, meaning that 98% of this country is too expensive for the average American to survive. Not 40%, not 60%, 98%. That means there's a 98% chance you're gonna be struggling when it comes to making ends meet here in America. So can somebody tell me how we're moving in the right direction unless you're a private equity firm buying up a fuckload of houses and fucking the American people? You like to fuck with us? Is that what you're doing? So when you're out there saying that you're struggling to make ends meet, everybody else is also. It's not just a little bit, it's not a hoax, it's systemic nationwide.
Wow. This guy's pretty upset. Now, personally, I disagree with 98% of counties. And here's the other thing he doesn't mention. What do you mention of unaffordable? What's unaffordable to you? I don't even know. Because technically, if everyone's broke, how are they spending money on Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Christmas shopping? Why? If you don't got it, why are you spending this money? This is the whole point. Actually, this is the reason why I created my course, is because most people don't understand money. And clearly, not saying this guy doesn't, but he's seemingly staying in a nice house. Like, you're living in luxury while complaining how hard it is. If you really want to know how hard it is, I'll take you to Lebanon. I'm going to show you what real economic deterioration looks like. But they've never experienced anything like this. So what do you really know? Yes, private equity is taking advantage of you. Yes, I fully agree with that. But you know why they're taking advantage of you? Because we don't have, as a people, now I do personally, and don't get me wrong, I do spend a little bit, but for the most part, I'm saving my money. Because yeah, I have necessities. But for the most part, private equity knows you won't stop spending money. Like, you'd be amazed how little people can live with in other countries. Everyone just had this mindset, America. Please, like, I bring up Lebanon all the time. Go to Lebanon, go to Dominican, go to Tunisia, and look how they live. There's a reason why they're happier than we are. We are stuck in this consumerism mindset. We are a slave to consumerism. That's why private equity wins. That's why politics wins. This is why we get taken advantage of, because we can't practice discipline in our spending habits. The last people who did this in America was the Great Depression. They would not spend any money unless the actual quality of the things they're getting were real quality. They weren't spending the money. My grandmother was a part of that. She didn't buy nothing. And everything my dad has, these things last 50, 60 years. We must mandate that as a people, or we're not spending money. But I mean, at least now people aren't buying brand new cars because they can't afford it no more. You don't have the money, you don't have the credit, and you just lost your job in most cases. That's why you can't buy a car. But in 2022, when cars were $100,000, everyone was buying cars. I'm like, why are you buying a car? You're overpaying for it. You do realize it's going to drop later, right? You do realize that US dollar is going to make everything go up in price because there's more dollars. So insurance is going to go up. Necessities are going to go up. Property taxes, of course, are going to go up. And government is going to justify it by saying cost, the upkeep cost is more expensive now. That's the reality when we started printing money. And here's the thing, everyone voted for it. So yes, I'm sorry. This is the pain. And I've been feeling this pain for 5 years now. But I'm almost over it. I'm almost over that hill. And the thing is, everyone's now starting at the bottom of that hill like I did back in 2020. And now it's time to make some real sacrifice if you want prosperity at the end of that road. Because no offense, doing what this guy's doing now isn't going to help you. 98% of counties are unaffordable. I'm living in a place that is $800 a month. Nice apartment. You just don't want to live. You just don't want to leave. And that's the problem. So, once again, I don't know what to tell people who are experiencing it. And I get it. Sometimes they're stuck because of school or kids or their job. But that's when you need to strategically start making plans to see if you can go to a lower cost living area, save money, and then come back. But it's like everyone believes I shouldn't have to take a step back. I should just get what I want. No, it's going to get worse. It's going to get so much worse. Everyone's complaining about it now. Wait until about a year or two later. It's going to get so much worse. So, college, everyone's talking about college and student loan. Yeah, you should have made a financial decision. That's a financial decision when you're going to college. If you didn't make the right decision, then everyone and we're going to see a video of this later about student loans, how expensive student loans are. Yeah, it's a cost that you most likely, and most Americans in general, didn't think about back when they got it. Now they are starting to think about it now, because it's $200,000 for a bachelor's degree, and they can't get a job that's going to be able to pay it off. Yeah, that's exactly why I did not go back to school, because I knew that was the case. But there are other solutions. But are you willing to take it? And that's really the key. Let's check out this next video too. Yes.
Nobody's watching me. It's my anxiety.
Yes. I fully agree with this. 73% of U.S. workers are struggling financially. Yes, I actually agree with that. Because most U.S. workers don't understand how to budget, honestly. Monthly income, $4,000, that's quite a bit, actually. That's more than what I'm making. Rent, $1,400. Health insurance, $250. Yeah, health insurance. I don't pay for health insurance. Car insurance, $175 a month. That means you almost either have a newer car with all those fancy gadgets that everyone loves so much. That's going to cost you more. Yes. $600 car loan. Why? Why? There is a YouTuber called Cars Questions Answered. His entire car, he's a car dealer. His entire used car dealership is selling cars below $5,000. But no offense, I guarantee a guy like him is going to say, I don't want to buy no car for $5,000. Oh, I deserve to have a 2018 or 2020. And they complain. They complain. No offense, it is what it is. I still have a 15-year-old car. It works. Get a 15-year-old car. But what do I know? It's your decision at the end of the day. We have gas, transportation. That sounds about right. That's how much probably I'm paying right now. Entertainment, yeah, solid. Utility bills, yeah. Eating out. You can eat out if you want, but once again, here's what I mean by when it comes to your standard of living. That's it. Your standard of living. It's time to change your standard of living. You can't assume I can just go out all the time anymore. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money. Boom. Yeah, that's pretty solid. Shopping, pretty solid. But yeah, groceries, car loan, the insurance. You're stuck with student loans, unfortunately. Rent, you can probably help that. And health insurance. Yeah. No offense. Go to West Virginia, you could probably knock that rent down to $900, $1,000 maybe. I don't know what this type of situation is. Health insurance, that depends on your job. But if you're a blue-collar worker, what most U.S. workers are now, yeah, the company has to pay the health insurance, and as that gets more expensive, your deductibles get more. I'm personally a part of the blue collar trade union. I don't pay I don't pay health insurance. I pay $0. Here's examples. Like car loan, you shouldn't ever have a car loan. Sorry. You should not have a car loan when you are struggling. When you're struggling, you get a $5,000 car. $10,000 is the max you should be paying for a car. And if that's a 2013, get a 2013. You spend $600 a month isn't going to help you, and the insurance is going to be more expensive. Older cars are cheaper to insure because the values are cheaper, and to replace the car is cheaper, so you'll pay less insurance. Like I said, so that's nothing to hell, but yeah, 73% of U.S. workers are struggling. And here, despite me ranting the way I am, I feel for you. I get it. You might be too ignorant to understand it, but at the end of the day, you are responsible. What were you doing in 2020? Were you saving money? Probably not. You see the last one. Got one more I want to show. Got this guy here. See, good example. Another one. $400 in debt. I'm assuming that's student loans. Utilities, yeah, $300. Rent, $1,800. There are townhomes in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, because they overbuilt so many homes. I saw a 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhome, $1,000 because there's so much supply there. There are opportunities to find stuff across the country, but people want to be stuck at one place, and that's fine if you want to do that, but you have to deal with the consequences of staying in a high cost living area. If you're in New York, if you can't sacrifice and push yourself to hit the $200,000, $300,000 a year type jobs, we have to sacrifice everything to get to that point, which is the opportunity that New York and places like California provide. If you're not getting there, you're trying to be in the middle of the road or just barely making it, you're not going to be able to stay in these places. Because yes, the cost of living is going to run away from you. And this guy is a great example. $600 in food. If he's a single guy, I'm not spending $600 in food. And I know I weigh more than this guy. And I know I can eat more. I'm not paying $600 on food. $500 for a car? No, I don't pay $500 on no car. I pay $65 a month for insurance. And I save $100 a month just for emergencies when stuff happens, because it will happen. Utilities, can't do anything about utilities. Yeah, in my opinion, it's bad budgeting. You say it's not bad budgeting. No. Find somewhere else to live. I can't live too far from the city. That's the reality, though. But ultimately, I just wanted to talk about this. These are the type of videos I'm going to start putting out, just responding and commentating. But ultimately, I want to give people a positive reinforcement as well. Times are going to get hard. It's going to get worse now that the money printer is going back on, as I spoke about in my last video. So your goal is to identify what's going on and find a way to maneuver around it. The analogy I used to always use is the big corporation, the Federal Reserve, the big corporations are massive cruise liners. When they move, it takes a long time to move. We are speedboats. We can move as quick as we want to when it comes to the waves. So when these waves are coming, maneuver away from them. That's essentially what I've been doing for the past 4 years. It is about to bear fruit in about a year. And I encourage people to really look into their lives and find out, what can you do? What alternatives can you do? Can you work your job in a place like Ohio or West Virginia or Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, where the cost of living is cheaper? Because if you can, why not move there for a couple years, save money, and then when you're in a stronger financial position, go where you want to go. But unfortunately, most people are so ignorant financially that they don't have the resources or the tools to do. And that's where my courses come in. So thank you very much. And we will talk about another video next time.